City County Chair Adams.
Here.
Chesterfield County, Mr. Banuelos.
Here.
Goochland County, Mr. Longerbeam.
Here.
Hanover County, Mr. Vadunez.
Here.
Henrico County, Ms. Smidler.
Here.
New Kent County, Ms. Inman.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning. Powhatan County, Mr. Webb.
Here.
City of Richmond, Ms. Clark. Capital Region Airport Commission, Mr. Rutledge. Plan RVA, Mr. Bushing.
Here.
Ride Finders, Mr. O'Keefe.
Here.
DRPT, Mr. Hudson.
Here.
GRTC, Ms. Robinson. Mr. Robinson.
Here.
RMTA, Ms. Simmons. VDOT, Ms. Saadmat.
Here.
That concludes the roll call for attendance. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Janice. Are there any considerations or amendments to the meeting agenda for today? Anyone have any changes they'd like to make? Okay, so Miles, did you note a date change on the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, there's a typo in the next meeting date, so just so everyone's aware, and we'll address it again at the end. It's 10/14, not 10/8, which is actually a Wednesday. So just to be clear, it should be 10/14. So I did want to note that early on, so that there's no confusion at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Miles. We'll update that on our meeting announcement at the end of this meeting, just to remind everybody. Thank you so much. Okay, then moving on, we'll have the approval of the August 12th TAC meeting minutes. Any changes, corrections to the minutes, or a motion to approve?
This is Sharon Smidler with Henrico. I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there a second?
John O'Keefe, I'll second.
Thank you, John. If you would pull the members, all those approved of the meeting minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the August 12th meeting minutes are approved. Thank you so much. And I'll go ahead and open the public comment period. Anyone from the public would like to speak? Any news or happenings or questions?
We haven't received anything, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bushing. So if there's no comments, we'll go ahead and I don't really have a chair report for anyone today. So we'll go ahead and move into Ms. Will Heller giving us a presentation for action on a tip amendment for the Route 10 interchange improvements. If Ms. Heller is ready to give an update on that.
I can do that. Let me just share my screen.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Okay, so thank you so much, Madam Chair. I have one item for y'all today, a tip amendment for the I-95 Route 10 interchange improvement project, and this is the second phase of the overall project. So this amendment is being requested by VDOT and would add the project to our tip. This project is funded through a successful smart scale round 6 bid by Chesterfield County. This project will modify the existing interchange into a partial cloverleaf interchange. And though on the face of it, that sounds like it's a simple process, there are multiple steps to this project involving pedestrian infrastructure improvements and improvements to the north and southbound lanes. So modifications made to the I-95 northbound lanes include the addition of an acceleration lane onto I-95, the removal of the westbound Route 10 loop ramp, widening the off-ramp to Route 10 to accommodate 3 left-hand turn lanes, and signalizing the intersection of I-95 and Route 10 off-ramp. So unsurprisingly, the I-95 South modifications mirror those that are planned for I-95 North. They include adding an acceleration lane, removing the eastbound Route 10 loop ramp, widening the off-ramps to include 3 left turn lanes, and then again signalizing the I-95 Route 10 off-ramp intersection. So in addition to the modifications on the roadway itself, the project also calls for pedestrian improvements. So including signal modifications at the intersection of Route 10 and Old Stage Road, and then over 4,700 combined feet of planned sidewalks. So the largest section of sidewalks is about 3,400 feet on the southern side of Route 10 from the western interchange through the intersection with Old Stage Road. And the northern side of Route 10 has a combined 1,350 feet of planned sidewalk from Chestnut Hill Road to Old Stage Road, and then from Reedwater Creek Road to the southbound I-95 ramp. So here we have the tip block for the project as provided by VDOT. And our request today is that the TAC recommends approval of this proposed tip amendment as requested by VDOT. Anybody has any questions, I would be happy to take them.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the tip amendment? Thank you, Ms. Heller. If there's no questions, is there a motion for approval for this tip amendment?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Dyrona.
I make a motion that the TAC should recommend approval of the proposed tip amendment as requested by VDOT.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is JJ with Chesterfield County. I'll second.
Thank you, JJ. If there's no further comments or discussion, can we just go ahead and get a vote? All those in favor of approving the tip amendment, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you. The action passes with approval. And so we'll go ahead and move on to our safety program and plan update from Dan Mata. He's got some new information for us.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. So today I'll be providing an overview of the regional safety plan update, which we are already in the process of updating, and how the TAC will be engaged moving forward with this project. So for broader context, this work falls under task 7420, Safe Streets and Roads in the UPWP. And the purpose is pretty straightforward, to reduce the number of people killed and seriously injured in our roadways. And the guiding plan is the 2022 Regional Transportation Safety Plan, which is what we are updating in this project. And deliverables for this task include updating the plan itself into a formal safety action plan and establishing a roadmap for a regional safety campaign and messaging effort. We will also be supporting locality and VDOT safety studies and initiatives as needed, and continue to monitor progress and updates to the annual safety targets, which is an ongoing responsibility. So as I mentioned, this particular process will update the 2022 safety plan, and we're focusing on actionable implementation options. So short-term strategies, specifically reevaluating the high injury networks that were in that plan, and also looking at conducting road safety assessments. We're also updating our priorities, shifting from more of a locality focus to a corridor-based approach, and also setting clearer timeframes for implementation strategies. And importantly, this plan will tie directly into Transportation 2050 as well, the LRTP update, which has adopted a long-term goal of achieving Vision Zero by 2050. So here's just a pretty condensed timeline for regional safety since 2020. The Vision Zero work group was first convened in August 2020. And between then and February 22, they met 8 times, which set the foundation for the regional plan. And by April 2022, the policy board adopted the Richmond Regional Transportation Safety Plan. And since then, staff has become familiar with statewide and regional safety campaigns and schedules, and have begun laying the foundation for a true regional safety program. The TPO has also taken steps to set safety as a high priority in regional project selection. And this year, we have updated safety performance targets, recommitted to prioritizing safety, and launched the plan update this project. And we expect this update to be completed in May 2026. So just a quick background on the 2022 plan, just to remind everybody what it was all about. This plan set the foundation for where we are today in safety in the region. So analyzed regional safety trends, set performance targets, and closely analyzed crash characteristics, and established the regional high injury network, as I mentioned. It also incorporated health equity through the Health Opportunity Index and identified pedestrian safety action plan corridors. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, the 2022 plan produced jurisdictional specific safety assessments for each locality. So not really those corridors, like regional corridors, but corridors in each locality specifically, and cataloged both behavioral and infrastructural countermeasures, and laid out general implementation options. So this is the 2022 plan is the work that we are building upon now. So in the 2022 plan, there were several recommended options. There were organizational steps like reviewing safety culture, expanding Vision Zero work group, and considering the regional action plan, which we're doing now. More behavioral steps like completing and compiling local activities and safety, resource sharing and crash mapping, and then infrastructure steps such as updating policies, prioritizing locations, evaluating safety and project selections, and then refreshing the analysis every 3 to 5 years was a big one. So each of these areas and sub areas have these specific recommendations that are laid out on this table, and some of these have been implemented and some have not yet been implemented. So looking ahead, we're emphasizing 5 basic priorities in this update. First, encouraging and building public engagement that is more meaningful and thorough. The last safety plan didn't have a very strong public engagement component, so that's something we would like to focus on this time. Second, a shift towards multi-jurisdictional corridors, as I mentioned earlier, rather than just locality profiles, since this is a regional plan and our corridors, don't stop at locality borders. Third, reviewing implementation practices to identify outdated approaches. Fourth, setting specific project timelines with attached timeframes. And finally, measuring performance with clear guidelines for tracking progress. And lastly, this is kind of a separate project, but it's involved in the safety plan update. For the remainder of 2025, we are also engaged in developing a safety messaging framework for the region. So this work partially overlaps with the safety plan update, as I mentioned, but this stage will be complete by 2025 of this year, or December of this year. So this particular safety messaging part of the project will be focused on examining how to develop a unified regional safety messaging strategy with the ultimate goal of shifting our safety culture in the region. So to achieve this, we'll be looking at building more long-term creative partnerships for meaningful engagement and impact in our communities, and getting to understand the safety needs from the ground level a little bit more. As I mentioned, this part will be complete in December. So May 2026 is when the overall safety action plan will be complete, and this will be complete in December, and guide the campaign development in 2026. So getting to the roles in this process, the policy board ultimately will adopt the final framework. Local agencies and staff will provide key data, help identify high injury corridors, coordinate outreach. Committees and safety corridors around the region hope to advise on issues and validate our strategies. Schools, community groups, advocacy groups, and emergency services will all provide essential perspectives from their specific roles and areas of expertise. And for you, for TAC specifically, you're the primary oversight body for this process. So we're hoping to engage with you throughout the entire project. And this means ensuring consistency with regional objectives, guiding the data analysis, helping to prioritize our corridors, and shaping recommendations. We will also be asking for your help in developing the messaging framework, as I mentioned. And one discussion item I wanted to bring up for today is if we wanted to have separate regular project meeting updates, or should safety become a standing TAC agenda item for updates and discussion. So let's actually put a pin in that while I tell you about next steps, but just to keep that in mind. So we've set up a project page on our engagement site, Engage Plan RVA, and that's at engage.planrva.org/safety-plan. So this is similar to the rural transit project page that you may be familiar with from a few months back. It will be updated throughout the project, including parts of the safety messaging component. And we are also preparing to launch a regional safety survey as part of the project. So this survey is designed to be a key component of this whole regional safety planning and messaging effort. And the purpose is to gather input on travel behaviors, public perceptions of roadway safety, and community support for design and enforcement strategies. So by capturing these insights and observed behaviors and, importantly, perceived risks, we can ground our strategies in the lived experience of people that we hear from, and identify areas where the education and messaging and ultimately infrastructure improvements will have the greatest impact. So the results from this survey will inform both the development of the messaging framework and just broader safety planning work, and including our approach to things like the high entry corridors and safety investments overall. And as a bonus, this data gathering tool also aligns with funding priorities under programs like Safe Streets for All, and provides a baseline for evaluating effectiveness for the future campaigns. So lastly, what is next? First, we'll send out an email summary of today's presentation to everybody here, and continuing to engage in data collection and analysis. That's something we're already engaged with. And we will continue scheduling one-on-one meetings with regional partners this fall, including everybody here. And public engagement is planned primarily for January and February of 26. So a few months from now. And we will return to TAC with updates and more discussions at the next progress meeting. And now I guess it's a good time to go back to that prior discussion if we wanted to have regular project update meetings apart from TAC meetings, or have this as a standing agenda item for TAC. So I'll stop there and we can hopefully discuss that if anybody has any strong opinions. And but other than that, that wraps up the presentation. Happy to take any other questions or hear tax guidance.
Thank you, Dan. I don't know who's been posting the commercials on TV, but I've been seeing, you know, every decision has an impact with people buckling up. So I don't know if that's part of our initiative, but very good message there. Strong one-liner there. Every decision has an impact and very effective. So I just want to put that out there. And then I also noticed that the Richmond Raceway was doing some young driver training out there this past weekend. So I've noticed that. And, you know, our local law enforcement are always helpful in doing guidance to drivers on the children's restraint guidance. So there's a lot of good safety messages that I'm picking up on the television. So that's always good. Amy, Inman, you have a question or comments?
Great, thank you. Dan, great presentation. Just a couple of questions for clarification. The safety messaging that's going to be complete in December, is that already underway, or is there outreach to the localities on that? Because that's a pretty significant piece of this, right? So
Yes, and to be a little more clear on that, we are going to be working with all the localities more closely, but this stage of the messaging up until December is essentially just kind of the research and fact finding and kind of setting the stage for what a future safety campaign could look like in the region. So not quite setting up the campaign, more of just kind of essentially looking at a white paper or something similar on what a regional campaign would look like.
okay.
So we're kind of setting the stage for that campaign in the future.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. So the corridor shifting from like locality to corridor, I understand, I think the basis for that, right? You're trying to make this more of a regional, you know, messaging campaign, which is fine. But I do think it's worth noting that a lot of the accidents, especially bike accidents, happen off of the main corridors, right? So a lot, you know, I mean, I know my own experiences, you know, I've had to stop riding to Ashland because it's just too dangerous. I can't, you know, the cars are just very aggressive. They come too close. And, you know, we've had some very serious fatalities. One child was killed recently, just trying to, I don't think it was a school day, but I think she was close to the school and, you know, she wasn't wearing a helmet and she, you know, probably wasn't, I don't know all the details around it, but it we had a child that died on her bike, and that's just unacceptable. We've had other fatalities recently that, involving, prominent people who I'm sure were just trying to get to work and, got hit. So we really need to do a better messaging, not just thinking about autos and, but really how we're interacting on the road with everyone. I think Share the Road campaign has to be the #1 message that gets sent out. That cyclists have a right to be on the road. I mean, yes, the message needs to be cyclists. You also have to follow the rules of the road. You can't just act like you're immune to stop signs and, not being proper, but, we have to have a better message out there for that. I've heard it even in our locality where, there was someone stood up and said VDOT needs to demand that there are no cyclists. They're not allowed on the road. They need to be taken off the road. That's just not, and they believe that, they really seriously believe that cyclists do not belong on the road. And, so anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that, but it does hit home. And I just think it's a message that has to be sent out. I think this is an excellent platform to have that happen. And just one last question. So the public outreach that you're talking about in January and February, is that going to be in line with the LRTP meetings that I'm hearing will likely be scheduled, or are those separate? And that's all. Thank you.
For the public engagement piece, we're still kind of planning that with our community engagement team here, but we're hoping to kind of piggyback on the LRTP update, but also have separate events or go to separate events and talk about this with people in the community. So a mix of both.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Sharon, you have some comments, questions?
Yes, so I put a link in the chat to drivesmartva.org, Drive Smart Virginia. It has a lot of combined safety campaigns, share the road, buckle up. So that is a good resource. Dan, are we looking at, I know there's a lot of different names, like we have Plan RVA isn't looking at applying for like a Safe Streets for All grant. I know, and then like the city has, Vision Zero, Henrico County has Arrive Alive, Henrico, the state has Arrive Alive, Virginia, and in the SS4A Safe Streets for All. I just want to make sure they all work together. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we use all our sources of information to get a good product, because safety, we all want to go home at the end of the day. And yeah, so just wanted a little bit more background on that.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree. We don't want to reinvent the wheel or anything, because there's already a lot of stuff, good stuff out there on safety. So definitely going to be incorporating state strategies and also strategies that some of our localities have already started putting into place. But
Dan?
Something, Miles, did you have your hand up to answer anything in that question, or?
Yeah, I can address a little bit more on the funding front if it helps, Sharon. I think our goal was to be able to fold in the local SS4A plans as a component, but then also obviously identify which of those corridors are most aligned with the regional high energy network. So there's a local network that might include more roadways than the broader regional corridors that we're looking at. And as far as funding itself, by updating the plan to be a safety action plan, we will be able to unlock SS4A funding for implementation and follow-up RSAs for all of the localities across the region. So whether it's the TPO undertaking the effort, or if Hanover or Charles City wanted to undertake a study, it would be available because that regional plan would cover all the localities in the region. So the goal is really to broaden it so that everybody's involved and able to get into that SS4A funding as well.
Okay, so kind of like to have an approved action plan for the region. So then people could apply for implementation grants, or maybe I'm getting too specific.
Exactly. So implementation or the follow-up studies if you wanted to look at a specific corridor or anything.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And then to answer Dan's question, maybe we could try for a standing agenda item for TAC, depending, you know, how long the meetings get. But I'm open to consider other items too. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Dyrona?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I just wanted to been a part of this since the initial working group for this. So excited. Yeah, I would definitely agree. If not, like maybe every other TAC meeting as a standing agenda item, because I think it's important. And to Amy's point, definitely important to ensure that those corridors are multimodal corridors when we look at them, in consideration for the safeties, meaning we're looking at the different modes, pedestrian, as well as bicyclists or those that scoot, like in the city, on e-bikes or e-scooters. So yeah, super excited. But yeah, I agree. I think that having us involved at the standing agenda item, again, I don't know if every meeting, but definitely potentially like every other meeting, we should be able to go back and have stuff from our engineers kind of prepared to make sure that we're all aligning regionally what will work for the localities. So thank you.
Thank you, Dyrona. Amy?
Thank you. Just one thought on that. I think having it as a standing agenda item is fine. But I wonder if maybe it would be helpful if we had an approach that was similar to what we did with the Fall Line Trail through CVTA, where we brought in, you know, we had various, you know, parties that were interested in helping the Capitol Trail and, you know, Bike Walk RVA. I think that might be an interesting way to include a broader audience that have a lot of expertise in this and have done a lot of work already. So maybe not every time that we would open it up, but maybe we had a few special meetings that we brought in other interest groups that could weigh in on it. And then I think that would make it a lot more collaborative and a stronger document, because ultimately this might be something that they carry forward, right, in their messaging. And we've got to get this out beyond, you know, I've never seen any TV ads, right? I don't watch TV. So we have to get out onto other platforms through our local channels. I mean, literally, like, you know, our our websites, or even YouTube, and whatever platforms we have, we need to be out there communicating this message, because young people are not watching TV, really, right? So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Who is next? Dyrona, did you have additional comments?
No, sorry, forgot to lower my
Okay,
hand.
no problem. Okay, John O'Keefe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, Dan, just a quick question and kind of piggybacking off of maybe what Amy was talking about. Is there a way in the outreach to work with the Safe Routes to Schools group on this project? You know, kind of looking at the youth aspect of it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the safety coordinators and safety organizations. That's definitely one of the groups that we want to work closely with on this. Specifically reaching younger people who are just starting to drive, or even younger kids that aren't close to driving but still could learn about roadway safety.
Yeah, because most of them are, you know, biking, and I know I've done
Mhm.
biking to school and walk to school events with Safe Routes to School in the past. And if you said that in your presentation, I may have missed it, and I apologize.
Oh, no. But you're good.
No, okay, thank you, sir.
But yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Very good. Naomi?
Yes, thank you. So I just had a couple things. I was curious how potentially, I know Plan RVA was collecting data on near misses, how that might integrate into this potentially. And then I was also curious too for Safe Streets and Roads for All. I think last time I heard the last cycle of grants was really the last round for getting implementation funds. So if that's kind of a source that we're looking at, just making sure we have a status update on if that's been renewed and if there are actually other opportunities to get implementation funds through that grant. And then, yeah, talking about just this discussion question, a standing agenda item or every other month, like was mentioned, sounds like a great idea.
Thank
So
you.
oh, sorry. I just wanted to address the near miss. Yeah, that's something we definitely are planning to incorporate into this, and especially bring that into our public engagement sessions or whenever we meet with the public, letting them know that we have this survey open and also a near miss a reporting tool that is always open and always collecting information, and that'll feed into that'll help fill in the gaps where the crash data doesn't quite tell the whole story, as I'm sure everybody here knows. So definitely planning to incorporate the near miss a bit more going forward. Was there? I can't remember if there was one other thing that you wanted to address, Naomi.
Not sure if anyone knows this answer now, but just taking a look at Safe Streets and Roads for All and seeing if there actually is additional cycles available for implementation.
Yeah, I believe there's one more. Miles, did you want to jump in?
Well, there were a couple things. I believe there's one more cycle that we were expecting next year. And again, that could be a follow-up study level versus actual implementation. So there is study money through that program, which is kind of the biggest pot that's been sitting and not fully tapped into. The second piece of that is with federal reauthorization coming up, the future of the actual program is largely uncertain. So we are tracking that closely and then trying to figure out kind of where to pivot depending on where the funding programs go. So I think we're open to it. It's just that's kind of the source that's been in the background, but we're not sure where that's going to land in the future. But whatever we need to do to pivot to look for other funding programs, I think that's our intent on this, obviously.
Thank you, Miles and Dan. We've got some, I think we've got a general consensus from the membership that we want to try to get, an update on the agenda, at least maybe every other meeting, but if not every meeting, but every other meeting, certainly, we could probably add the safety to the update section of the agendas if everybody thinks that would be a good idea. Very good consensus on information on safety. Dan, thank you very much. And all the feedback is especially good as well. So any other comments or ideas on the safety messaging? I agree with Amy that we need to reach, some other media sites, other than just, commercials on TV. I agree with Amy that the younger generation needs to have that, more information on a social network platform. So I think that's a very good suggestion as well. So, all right. Well, if there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and move on to our other updates. If Mr. Hudson would like to give a DRPT update to us, if you're ready.
Sure thing. I have one item to mention today, and that is that Tri-Transit Week is back. If you record your commute trips in the Connecting VA Transit app between September 15th and the 19th, you can automatically be entered for a chance to win free transit rides. Transit passes and tokens have been generously donated by the following transit agencies, including Afton Express, Blackstone Area Bus, Bright, Danville Transit, Farmville Area Bus, and Greater Lynchburg Transit Company. And of course, GRTC is operating fare free, so they don't need to be donating transit tokens or anything to this. But this is an opportunity that we do in coordination with our agencies every year to encourage folks to get out and try and ride transit, especially people that might be new to the transit space. So stay tuned. We will have some resources posted to our website, and we will be promoting it across our media platforms. But I just wanted to give you all a heads up that that is something that's coming up this month. And that pretty much concludes my updates for this month. Happy to take questions if there are any.
Thank you for the update, Wood, and we're so special that GRTC gives the free ridership, compared to a lot of these other transit companies. So that's kudos to us in our region. There are no other questions for Wood. We'll go on to Mr. Robinson with GRTC, an update from your folks.
Yes, good morning, everybody. So with the Sanson zone shift over the summer, Route 56 will retire on October 18th of this year, and Link Microtransit, the on-demand service, will now cover that entire area, and that includes White Oak Village Mall. Meanwhile, the new Broad Rock Link zone will launch October 20th, and the service hours for that will be Monday through Friday, 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m., Saturdays from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that zone connects riders to key community destinations, including McGuire Medical Center, Broad Rock, and Parnell Industrial Parks, the Amazon Fulfillment Center, Philip Morris, Southside Plaza, and Big Apple Supermarket are some of those. And then on the planning side, we've completed our first round of public engagement for the North-South Pulse extension through a series of virtual workshops. This fall, we will begin developing corridor and station area recommendations and host in-person public meetings. Dates are set for early October, but final details are going to be released publicly soon for those. A final report is expected in winter of 2026 for that. And then finally, articulated buses are now out on the streets. These buses feature 3 screens and 3 boarding doors. And to support that rollout, we've launched a Watch Your Step campaign through a lot of signage and social media posts to help riders adjust to the new boarding experience. And yeah, that concludes the GRTC agency update, and I can take any questions if anybody has any.
Yes, Sharon, you have some questions?
Corey, with the Route 56 retiring on October 18th, so the Sandston Link Zone, is that already live? I know Sandston Zone's live, but the expanded area to include the Route 56.
Yes, so the way that we're rolling things out is Sandston got an expansion to that particular zone in the June booking that started at the end of June.
Okay.
And then it ran concurrently, and then now we're retiring the 56. And then the same thing is likely going to happen with the Broad Rock zone, where it covers the Route 88 section, and those will run concurrently from October to January, and then we'll likely retire the Route 88 in lieu of the microtransit zone.
Okay, but the expansion has been going on since June. Okay,
since June, yes, correct.
Thanks.
Very good. Naomi?
Yes, thanks, Corey. A community member just brought up to me that their perception was that the pulse frequency went down once the articulated buses were introduced. Is that the case, or is the frequency still the same?
Those weren't directly correlated, but there was a slight frequency change to the pulse that also happened in June. I can't remember the exact specifics of how that schedule changed, but it wasn't an overall frequency change. It was just a minor frequency change, I believe, mainly affecting weekends and some off hours. But those that new frequency can be found on our website if you go to the routes section and go to Pulse.
Thanks.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, great. Thank you. One quick question. Corey, how has just for the Powhatan link service, um, since it's gone full county, how has that ridership responded?
It's actually looked very good in these past couple of, so we just started taking a look at our ridership heat maps, which show where riders are coming and going from, and there's been a lot of different calls throughout the county that are outside of that original zone that are in that newly county-wide zone. So very positive so far.
Good. Well, I want to give a shout out to Ride Finders because I know they've been out at the farmers markets and they've been on social media too, like really promoting that. So great job.
Absolutely.
To them on that because I think that's really key. And one final question, when will we know the costs of that service going forward? Right now, I know it's still being operated under the GRT or the DRP grant. So when will that change over in this next fiscal year?
I'm not positive on that, but I can check with somebody and answer that question
Okay.
after this via email.
Super. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Very exciting. So if we could get an update from John O'Keefe on Ride Finders.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did a lot of meetings last month. We met with representatives from Sigma or Ferrucci Foods. It's a plant in Colonial Heights, as well as the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts to discuss our programs and services with those employers, and that continues to be ongoing. We're looking at doing some surveys and some density plot maps with both of those employers. We attended the Richard Bland Dealer Institute Job Fair, sponsored by Live Casino in Petersburg. Trying to get in there early to talk about, any van pools or transportation options that we may be able to help them with, like carpooling or anything like that. Of course, we attended the Tri-Cities Night at the Diamond and distributed information about our programs and services there as well. We've got several upcoming events scheduled, outreach events for transportation fairs at Reynolds Community Colleges, both at the Parham campus and downtown campus. And with VDOT opening the new headquarters and some of their employees leaving from the Richmond area to the new location in Hanover County, we also have a transportation fair coming there, as there are several employees that ride, some of the express buses that go to that location that won't be able to do that. So we're talking about them with some van pool options. And last but not least, our executive director, Sharika Ruffin, received recognition for the Chesapeake chapter for the Association of Commuter Transportation, or ACT, for the Social Butterfly Award, highlighting RideFinder's creativity in social media and the ability to keep up with trends and promoting TDM through diverse social media channels. So just wanted to let everybody know about that, and also wanted to thank Amy for mentioning us as always. It definitely goes in line with what she said when we were out there and promoting the micro transit as well as our other services online. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer it. But that's my update, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, John, always for all your community outreach work. Certainly a good presence out there in the community. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And if there are no questions, we'll move on to an update from VDOT. I believe it's Ms. Sedmak.
Yes, yes. Naomi Sayadmak, I'm the Assistant District Planning Manager now with VDOT Richmond District. So thank you all for having me. You'll see on the update that we put together, a lot of the information has to do with the Commonwealth Transportation Board. They did not meet in August. The last meeting was in July. So if anyone has already heard this update, I do apologize, but that's the most current we have. They'll be meeting later this month to have additional information to provide to you all. So something that's of significance that we would want to share with you all, there was discussion about smart scale. That was during their work session. That's something that we're keeping an eye out. Seems to approach us always so quickly. You end one cycle and it's time to think about the next one. But the discussion was really about what makes for successful applications. And that was really just looking at VTrans priority 1 and 2 need locations, identifying right solutions to address those needs. So really value engineering and improving cost effectiveness. So looking to reduce risk and contingency. So we'll be keeping all those things in mind again when we're looking into the next application cycle for smart scale. And we'll be reaching out soon. We're getting back together internally with the district staff to set a deadline, just like DRPT set a deadline. So I think DRPT is looking for all of you all to reach out to them if you're interested in transit projects by the end of October. Ours will be a little bit later, probably in the November month around Thanksgiving. But we're going to set a similar timeline, reach out to us, coordinate with us so we can get any studies or projects going that we need to in order to prepare for the smart scale cycle. The Commonwealth Transportation Board also had an action meeting. So what I was talking about was more from their workshop meeting. And they took action on a few things, mostly a lot of regulation items. So pertaining to outdoor advertising and directional signage, they did take action in order to allow VDOT to initiate review of that language. That's something that VDOT's supposed to do every year, just take a look at the regulations established there. And the intent is really to look at things that might be overly burdensome and obsolete, and that's where they'll get started right there. Let's see. And then land use permit regulations as well. That really tells people what they can do on interstates. CTB took a look at that. There was public comment that was made on that. And since there were public comments and changes were made, it is posted for another 30 days for public comment. So they'll come back to the CTB for final approval if more comments are made and more changes are made. The next CTB meeting is September 16th at 9 a.m. That's the workshop. And then the action meeting is the 17th at 8:30 a.m. And those can be attended on YouTube and online. As for some things that are going on at the VDOT office, transportation alternatives and revenue sharing, that's the big thing that we have going on right now. Applications for final applications opened up August 15th and are due September 15th at 5 p.m. So I've been working hard on that effort. We reached out to localities. We provided them with some district comments to help strengthen applications. If you have any questions before that deadline, please do reach out to me. We can provide you clarity on cost estimates, on sketches. We can also answer your questions whether a document you have meets the capital improvement plan requirement and so forth. So do reach out. We're here to help. And a couple key project updates. We do got the File Line Trail going on. Design build number 1 at Holly Hill Road to Walder Lane. That's completed. It was accepted by VDOT on September 5th. And right now they're just kind of working to seed the project and make sure the landscaping and the greenery is going to be in place. Design build 2, that's Patton Park to West 100 Road and Chester Linear Park. That got its notice to proceed on July 10th. So that is in the works as well. Looks like the Mayo Bridge replacement project, the city of Richmond applied for an FHWA bridge improvement grant application to help cover $90 million of that. Currently, the project has a $106 million shortfall, so I wanted to share that with you all. And then I-64 gap widening, we did want to let everyone know that speed enforcement officially came into effect at the mile marker 215.6 and 224.3 in New Kent County. So they are actively sending out tickets for people who are speeding in the construction zone. So be aware of that. And then the last thing I want to note as well is that we do have a project management milestone series coming up. So some internal district training. So if anyone is locally administering projects and they want to learn more about scoping projects, that training will be September 25th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. All this information is on the Word document that we shared with you all. So if anyone has questions, do let me know.
Thank you so much for your update.
Of course.
All right, no more speeding on I-64. Everybody's warned, right, Amy? Okay, so just moving on, are there any other TAC member comments that anyone would like to share with the group? All right, very good. Our next meeting, as Miles said, will be October 14th. So please make a correction and update your Outlook calendars for that, not on the 8th, but on October 14th. And I appreciate everybody's input today. If there's no further discussion or comments, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thanks.
Thank you.